Welcome to the sew along for the skin to skin hack for elderberry blossoms. Now today we are doing the first step. We're going to talk about altering the pattern to make it the hack so you just have the front crossover and not all of the layers. But in order to do that, you've got to print out all of the pieces. I do have, I made up new pieces. If you would like to purchase them on my website, you can. But if you don't want to, that's not a big deal either. I can show you how to do it so you don't have to buy extra pattern pieces just for this. But it's there if you want to. And there's also projector files, so if you don't want to mess with altering a projector and you only use a projector, then it's there also for you to use. So the three pieces that you're going to need to alter this the easy way is you're going to need your back piece, you're going to need your front crossover piece, and you're going to need your front panel. You don't really need the front panel, but it just makes it easier if you don't want to use extra pieces of paper. I'll show you how I do it versus, you know, there's lots of different ways to do it, but this is just how I do it. The other piece that we're going to be using in this sew along is I have this little inset pocket. I stole this from my Slouchy Shenanigan pattern. So you can use that or any inset drop pocket. It's a very generic shape. You could even just draw one out yourself and use that. It's not really anything special. I just had it already printed from another pattern that I was using. So the first thing that you're going to do in order to, let me start again. For this hack, what we're going to do is we're going to take this front crossover panel and we are going to make it longer and not use this front panel at all. So that's essentially what we're going to do. Now, the pattern pieces that I made for you to purchase, I also made the front panel so that it's shorter. So that way, if you want to use it underneath the crossover panel as if you're going to put baby in there, or if you just need that extra piece of fabric there, that's an option also. So that's also included in the pattern pieces I made for you, but I'll show you how to do it with this one also, so you don't need to buy the pattern pieces. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to start out with this back piece, and then you're going to take your front crossover piece and flip it over, and this is after you already have them together. You're going to flip it over and you're going to line up the shoulders right here. So the shoulder arm circle and then the side right here are going to line up, and you want that lined up all the way down. And then you're going to take this piece. This is just, you know, an extra piece, but it also has that same curve, so you don't need to do any extra cutting or anything, which is why I like to have that, is because it's already there. If you've already made a skin to skin and you already have it printed out, you don't need to print it again. It's just one of those things you can get an extra piece of paper too, or you can even use the back and trace it out on another piece of paper. That works well. But this is a quick and easy way to do it. So I'm going to line up the bottom with this piece. Maybe if I turn it sideways, you can see what I'm doing better. Okay, so I have my arm circle and my armpit all the way down the side right here. I have my front panel, and I'm going to line that up from the bottom all the way up the curve. And then I'm going to take my fancy little piece of tape, and all I'm going to do is I'm just going to tape my front panel right to my front crossover piece. So I'm just going to tape that a couple places. I'm not going to fold or do anything special, just tape, tape, tape right there. So that way I can draw a new piece, or I can just use this to cut out. When I do it, I like to do it the easy way and not do anything extra. I don't like extra pattern pieces or anything. So when I cut out my fabric, I'll take this as it is and I will cut around my sides all the way down here straight across, and then I'll fold this over and continue cutting the other side. And then this top part right here where the curve is, you're going to have a little corner, but you just move it to the side while you're cutting. If you would like your own pattern piece though, that's what we're going to talk about right now. So we have this taped out, and then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get some extra paper. If I'm drawing out pattern pieces or if I'm drafting a new pattern, I use freezer paper. Super fancy, not very expensive, and it works for everything. You have it in your kitchen anyways, or at least I do. And you just pull out as much as you need. And then I usually don't cut it until after I'm done, just because it's easier to store. But then I also know exactly how much I'm going to use too. So I'm going to lay this out. And now my pattern piece, it's going to be too big for my freezer paper, so I'm going to have to tape it together anyways, but it's easier than taping together a whole bunch of pieces of printer paper. So let me grab a marker. I'm going to use my toddler's Crayola marker, see if it's not dried out. It's not. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. Okay, so I'm just going to trace around this entire pattern piece, like so. Go around the edge. And now when I get down here, those two pieces that I taped together, I'm just going to trace all the way to the bottom and all the way over, like that. And then I'm gonna, well, not yet. I'm gonna do this part too. I'm gonna trace this, move my little corner, trace around that all the way. I'm gonna mark where the edge of my paper is, so that way I know where I need to move, or I need to tape my extra piece. Then I'm going to flip this over, like I just talked about doing what I do on my fabric, but if I want a whole another piece of pattern pieces is what I'm going to do. And then I'm going to, moved it a little bit, I'm going to finish tracing the bottom part right here, and then mark where the edge of my paper is. Now I'm going to grab a pair of scissors. And cut that. Move this over a little bit. And then I can move my pattern piece while I'm taping this. So I only need that much. I'm just going to do a little, cool, perfect size, maybe. I already had it cut out. Yeah, that should fit. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and fold it because it wants to curl. And I'm going to tape this to the piece that I just drew on, so that way I can finish drawing my pattern piece and have a full piece to use. So the really cool thing about freezer paper is if you have a fabric that's not really working very well, you can draw out your pattern on the freezer paper, and then you can take a cool, not hot iron, you want to do it like a medium heat, and iron your freezer paper onto your fabric. The freezer paper has a plastic coating, so it'll stick to your fabric, and then your fabric will stay in place while you cut out your pattern. Nice little tip. Okay, so wherever I marked the edge of my paper, I'm going to line it up with my pattern now. So there's the edge, and I'm going to finish drawing out my pattern piece. All along the edge, just like that. So when I pull this apart, what I have left is my new pattern piece with the extended front crossover panel. So that is basically all you need to know for making that new pattern piece and extending it out. All you have to do is line it up with the other pieces and then extend that. You're going to get the same side curves if you just extend it that way. It's a really simple way to do it. So you have those pattern pieces. You really don't need these anymore. If you would like to have that inner panel, if you want to make the front panel, just the solid front panel, underneath the crossover panels, and you want to make it shorter, so that way you could put baby in it. So it essentially it would be, sorry, I'm trying to multitask here and figure out what I'm doing and it's not working. Essentially you would have the front panel on the inside and the crossover panels on the outside. You just reverse the order of the way the pattern really is. So if that's what you want to do, and you don't want to purchase the pattern pieces, because I already have that made out for you if you don't want to go through all of this. Sometimes it can be a hassle, so it's already there if you want it. This isn't necessary. So if you want to make the front panel smaller, like the crossover panels are shorter when you look at it and how it goes together, you have your back piece, which is, this is going to be the length of everything. And then you have your front crossover panel that comes up here. It comes shorter, and that whole part is where this part goes under baby's bum. And so that kind of holds baby in place. It's not a baby carrier, but it does do a little bit of support to keep baby right where baby needs to be. If you want to switch those layers so that the longer one that we just made is on the outside, and you want this front panel to be shorter, what you want to do is the same thing that we just did. You want to line up your pattern pieces, start at the arm circle, line up the sides, take your other piece, line up the bottom, and then you see right here where the front crossover panel is. All you have to do for this is just fold this piece straight up to where that is. And just make sure your line is straight, fold it across, and you can either snip that off or fold it over if you want to reuse the pattern piece later. And that is basically all you have to do to make that front panel shorter. So it'll act as the inner piece. You'd have your back piece, and then on the inside of the shirt you would have this piece, and then on the outside of the shirt you would have this lengthened front crossover panel.